Hello, people, fellow YouTubers. This is Train Driver 844, or the guy on your right, or Chance Everingham. Whatever suits you better. I guess I really don't care at this point. Yeah, this is my first video of 2018, and also the first video for quite a while on this channel. So you might have noticed that I really haven't been on this channel much until recently, and I was just in this video I'm just gonna try and clarify a little bit, and also just show you a little collection of my double O gauge locomotive fleet. I don't really have that big of a collection really of double O gauge stock. I have a couple of vans and a couple of wagons and 2 rake vans and a couple of coaches. But that really doesn't sound that interesting, really. So, most people really, when they look at a video of, locomotive reviews, they focus more on just the locomotive, of course. On model train reviews, I'm sorry. Of course they were focusing on the locomotive and the locomotive review. That's the whole point. But, so I don't really consider those as important, mainly just because they came with a set, apart from those wagons, but, who cares, really? They're just mineral wagons. So, yeah, so, it's weird, I guess, because I'm an American, and, I have American model trains with me, and, I've also have a little interest in, British locomotives. Mainly steam locomotives, but I also like Class 08s and Deltics and Class 37s, and I've always found they look very different to what everybody in America is used to seeing. Everything's a lot more smaller and a lot more, pretty much smaller and a lot more, just more quirky, I guess. And that's, and like, they're kind of weird, but personally, I find I think they're still very charming. Really, more charming really than locomotives from other regions, but that's personally my opinion, So I thought I'd show my double O gauge collection, which is mostly, as you can see, British locomotives. Apart from that second one to the to the right, and I will get onto that one later. So, but before then, I'm just gonna explain why I haven't really been on this YouTube channel much. So around maybe last year, a couple of years ago, I've lost an interest in working with model trains, and, what this channel is also kind of known for is just trains in general and Thomas Tank Engine videos and all that kind of stuff. But, so that's kind of why I really haven't done much with this channel for the past couple of years. And, I kind of really expected at this point, a few people still watch this channel, really, but I don't really expect a huge crowd, really. But I decided that I'd come back to this. But, after a while, though, I started kind of wanting to do model train videos again, and making videos and remakes, and maybe even write my own original stories and upload them to YouTube. And so that's why, as you can see, we're not in the shed, we're in my room, and I've made a little oval, mainly because this is more of a side project at this point, because I'm focusing heavily on a bunch of other stuff, but there will be more content to come, and hopefully a lot more better than what you're seeing right now, but I'm technically dealing with some issues with my new computer. It doesn't have a disk drive or a flash drive. Well, it has a flash drive or a SD card drive. It doesn't really have much other than just one tiny little flash drive. And so, yeah, it's a cheap computer that I got because my older one, which was a very cheap gaming piece, portable, very cheap laptop, decided one morning that it was going to die. And I can't really do much with an old broken laptop, so I just went ahead and I got a newer one. But originally I just got that laptop for schoolwork, but, it's a personal laptop, so you do whatever you want with your own personal items. But, until I can get, like, stuff to make it actually work, like maybe a converter for the flash drive and maybe an extender or something, I have a disk drive, a USB disk drive for the computer, but, I can't really import DVDs that well with a Canon camera. So for now, I'm just using a smartphone. So I'll just go ahead and get on to showing off the Locomotive collection. And, this is really the entire collection. There's no secret shelves or anything. I don't really have 100. I have more, likely just 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 10. It's really 8, but it's mostly about, if you just do the math, they round up to about 10. So we'll start from smallest to largest. And the smallest one, and also kind of one of my favorite probably of the entire collections, is the Hornby Terrier. Now, Hornby's known really for making... Hornby's basically the Bachmann in the UK and dominates the double O gauge. Apologize for my shaky hands. The Bachmann range of the UK, and you'll go to a model shop and you'll see all sorts of these locomotives. And they make stuff like those little this Greeno 40. They'll make stuff like that, and they'll make them into cheap little train sets that can be sold, and people can buy them and enjoy them. But Bachmann also makes detailed locomotive models. For example, they're the Pure Marquette 1225 or Berkshire class, or the other mainly just they're more up to scale DCC locomotives, while the regular DC or non-DCC ready locomotives, they normally normally you're just given just splash paint, clay model, not really a lot of separately fitted parts. But yeah, I can't really remember if this was DCC ready. I'll have to look at the instructions, but I bought this new. It came from the UK, and I even got the original packaging with it, and even the original plate. It came with this plate in front of it, strangely, and because normally these are known for normally you can see the locomotive or part of the locomotive, but I can't really complain too much. It's just part of the collection. But yeah, I like this locomotive a lot, not only for its detail, but also because it's actually very nicely detailed. That's one of the main reasons why I like it, and especially since if you can take a look at this cab, it's small. It's a small locomotive, but yet there's still a cab, and there's controls and detail and that kind of stuff, and I just find that impressive, because this is a small locomotive. It's barely bigger than, my hand is bigger than that, and I'm not really that big of a person, really. But, yeah. It's pretty small, really, compared to some of the other ones, even Percy or something. Yeah, so up next, this is actually kind of a little bigger, I apologize. This is I don't really know what this is, to be honest. It's clearly, I think it's German. It looks very German to me, and I don't really know too much about it. I know it's a Triang model, and it's got the numbers 254, and it uses a similar 040 chassis that Hornby's used for years, but that's about it, really. I don't know what type of locomotive it is, and I don't really know what they called it. But I bought this locomotive from somebody somewhere. I bought it off eBay, like everything else that is in my double O gauge collection. And it came with 3 wagons and a brake van. And I have 2 of the wagons in the brake van with me, but I gave one of the wagons to a friend. And the story behind this one, though, is kind of interesting. So I visited him, and I brought some of my model trains with me, and we played on his layout. And I decided... And I thought, well, maybe there'll be some... He lives in a more cittier area compared to where I live, which is practically the middle of nowhere. But I thought I'd be able to find a model shop and try and fix this thing. And ultimately, we ended up not going to any model shops and trying to fix it until a year later when I went back over there. And we went to a model shop, and we actually got this thing lubricated. And, it's not the best runner in the world, but it works. And, it runs a lot. It definitely runs a lot smoother than, when I first tried to run it. And, yeah. It was something, really. But, yeah, well, it's not really my primary interest, but, it's I guess a nice little thing to have. Adds a little bit of a multiculturalism into your train layout, even though it doesn't really look that correct, but, well, they're toys. Do what you want with your toys. Up next, probably the most common one in the bunch, the Hornby 040 switcher locomotive. I also don't really know what type of locomotive this is very well, mainly just because I look up there and they'll say Hornby 040 shunter, It's a saddle tank, obviously. And even though it's small, it does have some cab detail, and you actually can put a driver and fireman on there, which is pretty neat, honestly, considering that's just a cheaper, one of their cheaper models. And you know, it's, oh, whoops. It's already a little bit battered and bruised, so I guess it doesn't matter, but it's okay detailed. You got your safety valves, you got your dome, and you got rivets and molded handrails. So this was also bought used, and when I bought it, it had this cracked funnel. And that's been like that ever since I bought it. And I guess, you know, these are known for, you drive them around the layout at like a ludicrous speed, and, you know, then they crash, and I guess, you know, just do the same thing over and over again. And, yeah, I guess whoever owned this locomotive did that. He ran it around the layout a bunch of times, it crashed, and I guess the separately fitted part right here also fell off. But, you know, it doesn't really bug me that much. It's still a nice little locomotive, and it's a little giant. Even though it's little, but, you know, and I guess it has some decent pulling power. So I guess that name does fit it. Up next, we got the Hornby Percy. One of my two Thomas models, the other one being Thomas, of course. You know, he's got that really nice face. Originally, I was going to take it out and maybe use it for a Bachmann model, but I can't actually take it out. Nor can I take off anything else, because apparently the previous owner of this model glued everything on the shell. I guess it fell apart in his hands one day or something. I guess Leo Kim Video bought it from him or something, but, you know, it just fell apart in his hands, and so he just glued everything out there, and now you got like these weird shiny spots, which it's a little bit unfortunate, but, you know, that's I guess it's kind of the beauty of eBay, because when you buy something in kind of battered condition, you get it cheap. And the only real thing that was missing on here that I tried to customize was the footstep was gone. So I just made one out of paper, and I colored it green, and then I glued it on there. And I guess, you know, I mean, it's okay. I mean, you can't really notice the difference. Up next is, well, probably my most abused one. Keep in mind, I was a kid when I was a lot younger and a little bit more irresponsible when I owned them, and I kind of regret the way some of these models kind of been treated before I dug them out. But this is a Hornby Thomas. This was one of my first Hornby models, and it came with Annie and Clarabelle. And Annie and Clarabelle got all bruised up. One of the couplings this was the Annie coach, and the coupling broke off, so I decided to customize it. I gave them this weird blue color because it's the only color that I could find in the house, and now they're blue and orange, which are, I guess, two weird colors now that I look at it. And as you might notice, Thomas actually is able to roll freely because there is no engine in its chassis. I was running it along the layout one day, and suddenly it just died, completely died. How it would work, and I guess this is probably a common issue, but the motor would just spin, but the wheels wouldn't turn. And so young little me thought that I could fix him by rebuilding his motor. So I took his motor out, I put it somewhere, and I don't know what happened to the motor. So for now, it's a freewheel. And, you know, there's not really any parts I can use off of it. So, you know, I decided that if I ever do any more remakes, I'll buy another Hornby Thomas, and I'll, in certain shots, you'll have Thomas being pulled by, like, you know, like in Thomas and Gordon or something. If I do a Thomas and Gordon remake, I can put a coupler on there, and it'll look like Gordon's pulling Thomas, and without having to worry about the DCC power and not having all the engines work right in the layout. So, yeah. Up next is my, well, actually, I'll take it back. This is my first Hornby model. This is my first Hornby Thomas model. This was the first Hornby model that I bought that actually worked. A Hornby, a classic 060 pannier tank locomotive, built by Trying, I believe, also. And as you can see the motor straight in the cab. It had the little cap right here, but, you know, again, I was a lot younger when I got this model, and it's been abused a little bit, and I lost the cap one day. You'll notice that the numbers stickers have fallen off. I really don't know what happened. So, yeah. That's that. It's pretty nicely detailed. You know, I like the, it's got the handrails on there, and as you can see, there's some Sharpie on there, and I just thought I'd try and liven it up a little bit, and I painted it. I took this advice from the Locomotive video, and he got some Trackmaster models, and then he colored it with a Sharpie, and he tried to ultimately make him look a lot better with a Sharpie. And I mean, it's okay, but the only problem with that system is if you ever mess up on something, you can't get it off. Up next, we got the another Triang model, and this is my largest one. It's the Triang B12. I like this one a lot, and I thought it was pretty decent. Had some pretty decent detail. It had the cab detail too, and it ran splendidly when I got it out of the shed, until one day when, as you can see here, I got this big Tech 2, and that engine does not work anymore. And the reason is because previously, on this little leg layout, I connected one of Bachmann's DC controllers, and those controllers are terrible. The DCC controller works a lot better, obviously, because it's where more of the money goes into, but Bachmann, a long time ago, decided to redesign their DC controllers, and basically the difference was it had this, they have this, like, sort of inclining, like, curved line that increased as you go, meaning that you went faster instead of the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, miles per hour odometer. And they also added a switch to it, and they could have just put a regular switch back here like they did with the easy command, but instead they just had this switch that went right here, and you would try to basically just flip it on when you didn't want to run trains anymore. But strangely, that box would still get hot as if there was still electricity running to it, so I didn't really like it that much. And sometimes when I tried to go from on to off, and this just became a really bad habit, all the power would just go into the track as if trains were commanded to go at full throttle, and then the trains would just like wheel spin until you shut it off. And yeah, so one day I was running it around the layout, and it was doing that again, so I disconnected the layout. I ran this train along, and I tried to switch it off, and then it jerked forward, turned it off, disconnected the track, and then I got a new controller. And then when I tried to run it, it didn't want to run. There was no power going into it, and it basically just short-circuited. And that's pretty disappointing, because I made a promise that I was going to try and take better care of my model trains. So now moving on, here's its tender, and as you notice, it's a 2 wheels, not 3 wheels like it's supposed to be, because these plastic wheels literally fell apart one day. It's also missing the buffers because, again, I was young, trains fell off the cliff, and they would ultimately have broken pieces, and I may or may not have tried to glue them on, and when I glued them on, they were atrocious. And finally, we have the largest of the group, the Bachmann Hogwarts Express, and it's argued, really, I argue whether it's supposedly HO or 00 scale, because this is probably the only like Bachmann 00 gauge locomotive that's sold into the US markets, but it came with a Harry Potter train set, and it came with 2 coaches, and it's a really nice model, but the problem with it is that it's really, really delicate. I swear, like, holding this right now, I'm nervous a part will come off of it, but this headboard fell off one day, so I had to glue it on, and then the cab actually wanted to come off, and so did this, I guess it was a sander or something, also tried to come off. It's not a sander, I'll take it back. So, yeah. Very nice to look at, but, you don't want your kids to play with it, I'll tell you that. So, yeah, this is my little 00 gauge collection. It's not a big collection. As you can see, the layout, I'm in a different layout. But, pretty soon I'll get everything up and running again, and I'll try to make more videos and upload onto the YouTube channel. If you've managed to watch through the entire video, I really appreciate you watching. Please subscribe to the channel, and yeah, have a nice day.